The Steve Freeman Podcast is brought to you by ArtistDevelopmentAcademy.com, the number one resource for aspiring singers, songwriters, and producers to get the access, information, and guidance you need to be successful in the modern music business. Members get an all-access pass to our entire library of online courses taught by hit songwriters and producers, engineers, label executives, publishing company executives, plus a brand new course is added every single month. You also get access to our weekly and monthly members-only live stream events to be able to ask questions from industry insiders regarding your specific career, and you get full access to the members-only forum where you can find co-writers and collaborators from around the world, share your work for positive feedback, and get the support of a growing creative community of songwriters, singers, artists, and producers just like you. Get 30% off your annual membership right now by entering the code STEVE at checkout. Join now at ArtistDevelopmentAcademy.com.
The music business without all the bullshit. This is the Steve Freeman Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Steve Freeman Podcast. So good to be here. It's Friday. We are all ready for the weekend. We have got a great show lined up for you today. Grammy-nominated, multi-platinum selling songwriter and artist, James freaking Otto is here with me. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. We're even going to talk about BMX bikes. And you're like, Steve, how the fuck did you get into talking about BMX bikes? Well, you're just going to have to stick around and find out. Guys, don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Whether it's Apple Podcast, iTunes, Google Podcast, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify. No matter where you're listening, make sure that you subscribe. That way, new episodes every Monday, Friday are automatically downloaded to your smartphone or your tablet or your computer or the new microchip they're going to fucking implant in us here in about 6 months. Which is, I'm not even going in there. I'm not even going there. But if you do happen to be listening on Apple Podcasts and or iTunes, leave us a written review and 5 stars. Here's a review for you. The best music industry podcast, 5 stars. I love the real-world approach to the business Steve has. He doesn't sugarcoat anything, true, and tells it exactly how it is. Not how we wish it was or how the mainstream industry tries to make us believe it is. So glad I found the Steve Freeman Podcast new loyal listener. 3, mark them 1, 2, 3, exclamation points. That comes from Engineer for Life via Apple Podcast. Thank you, Engineer for Life, for leaving a written review. If those of you out there listening would like to have your review featured, don't be scared. Just get on there and leave one. You can even say something nasty. I'll read mean ones too. It's just nobody's left a mean one yet. Oh, fuck, I said that. Now there's going to be some mean ones on there, and I'll have to read them. We can maybe do a thing like mean tweets or something like that. Anyway, leave those written reviews. Follow me on Instagram at @TheSteveFreeman. And also, something new I mentioned the other day. If you would like to be kept up to date with what is going on with the podcast, some upcoming guests, yes, listen. We've got some sponsors, some advertisers that are coming on the podcast in the coming weeks. Now, I know, those of you, it's like, oh, fuck advertising. Look, somebody's got to pay for all this shit, okay? And I don't want it to be you. We could move the podcast to a Patreon thing. I'm not going to do that. But it's taking up so much time. Somebody's got to pay for this shit, okay? And it ain't going to be me. So we're bringing on some advertisers. When I talk to these different advertisers about coming on the show, I'm like, look, there has to be a benefit for my listeners. I'm not interested in just taking your money and reading copy and that being the advertising. That's just not the way that I do things. So there has to be something. So they're going to be giving away stuff and special discount codes to where you get a bunch of, it's going to be really exciting. If you want to know all about that and you want to stay current and up to date, know before everybody else, there's 2 ways to do that. 1, you can join my inner circle. Go to thestevefreeman.com, join my email list, and you can find out stuff that way. If you're more like me and you're a texting person and you like to text, which I like to text, what you can do is go to the link in my bios of Twitter or Instagram, When you click that, it will open up another screen. And at the very top, it says get notifications via text, or get updates via text, I think is actually verbatim what it says. Because if I don't make that right, somebody's going to send me a message. Steve, you said it was get notifications, and it doesn't say notifications. It says get updates via text. So let's be correct. It says get updates via text. You click that, you enter your phone number, and then you're going to get millions of spam shit that I've sold your phone number to. No, just kidding. It's free to do, and it puts you on my text list so that every time I want to let you guys know about something cool that's going on, or maybe a special or some discounts or something like that, it sends you a text instantly. So there you have it. So the Inner Circle mailing list, or get on my text list, either one. Several people did join the text list, and I have not sent out a text yet. So those of you that did it the other day, yes, it works, and it came through. I just have not tested it. Maybe we will do that over the weekend. We will make it a test of the emergency broadcast podcast system and make sure that it's working. But those are the two ways. I am really looking forward to the weekend. Something I'm also going to be working on this weekend is, I've said a couple times, for whatever reason, I've been kind of focusing more on the podcast and a lot less on music. I'm in the middle of producing a couple projects right now and writing some songs for those projects, and I'm really excited about them. Probably the most excited about the new Danielle Khalil record. Is going to be a phenomenal record. She's flying in here in a couple of weeks. We're going to finish up vocals on that. I'm really excited about that. And working on that project and producing and writing for that project, some of the passion that I've had for writing songs in the past has come back. Well, it's starting to creep back. It's not coming back. It's slowly moving its way back. And through this whole process that we've been going through of selling the house and, selling the big house, and now we're living in, a smaller condo space, getting ready to have our mass exit of Nashville when my daughter graduates high school this coming year. I have wanted to have a small setup. So everything that was in my home studio, because I had my regular recording studio that's next door to this studio here. And then I always had my home studio. So if I didn't want to come up to the studio, I could work at the house. Had everything the same. All the gear was the same. So it was, easy to go back and forth. And so when we moved out of the big house, I went ahead and moved everything that was in the home studio back up here. So now everything's up here. So I needed something small at the house. So I've ordered a bunch of new gear, some new stuff that will allow me to be creative in a smaller space. And I'm putting together a YouTube video, because I know there's a lot of you out there that you don't have big spaces for studios, but you want to be able to do very powerful things. You want to be able to have the tools that it takes to be very creative and make top quality records and projects and songwriting tools and things of that nature in a small space. So basically, I had this space that was like 49 inches wide by 34 inches deep. That was the space I was going to get to have. And I thought, there's no way in the world, being used to having a big setup and my Argosy console and all that's now up here, I don't know if I can do this. I found a way to do it. And I'm going to do a YouTube video, and I may talk about it here on the podcast too, about the gear that I bought for this small space. And most everything came in yesterday, and I started playing around with it and putting it together. And I'm really pumped. I told my wife last night, I am more, when I sat down at this place that I've created, I feel more creative than I do when I'm in my big studio. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because you're at the comfort of your own home and it's something completely different, but it's really kind of poured a little bit of fuel, a little bit of gas on this whole thing of trying to be creative again and get back into the process of writing some good songs and making the music and writing the songs that I want to write. Now, I've said this in the past. Should I do this and really dive back in head first? I'm not doing this for cuts. I don't give a shit one way or the other what Nashville thinks. I don't need or want the approval of anybody in this town. I'm going to write songs that I want to write. My buddy and I, David Aldo, we've had 4 number 1 songs together. We've not written a song and or released a song in, I don't know, it's probably been 3 or 4 years. We've written 3 or 4 brand new songs. And so all of this, I'm saying all of this to say to you, it is okay for you to go through periods where you don't feel as creative and you don't feel Maybe you get tired. We talked last episode about the race, and running your own race. Maybe you get a little tired, and instead of going and running somebody else's race, it's okay to maybe grab that Gatorade cup with some water in it and just take a break. And that's what I've been doing. And I've noticed that as I've taken this break, that some of the passion is starting to come back. Because I've always said, this stopped being about fun and about enjoyment and about passion and about the love of the game, if you will. That stopped for me 12 years ago, and it became all about the money. Now I'm fortunate enough to be in a place where it has circled back around, and I think I can do this for the passion again. But I've created this small little home studio setup, and it's really awesome. So I want to share that with you guys. Like I said, I'm going to do a YouTube video on it. But I may also do an episode of the podcast and go in depth into some of the gear that went into it. And I've had a lot of requests lately, and I want to throw this out there to everybody. I've had a lot of requests lately that some of you emailing me saying you wish I would talk more about gear and the gear that I like and the gear that you should be using and on the podcast. I don't know if that is of interest, quite frankly, to the majority of the people that listen to this podcast. But I will say this. The show notes for every episode of the podcast can be found at my website, thestevefreeman.com. I post the video version of the podcast, the audio version, a summary, and then any links that we talk about or anything like that. But it also has a section for comments. So you can always leave a comment on any of the show notes parts of the podcast. Let me know what you guys think about this. I would rather you guys steer this fucking thing than me. In all honesty, I had. So if you guys would like me to talk about that kind of thing and talk about gear and stuff like that, please let me know. Go to thestevefreeman.com, click on the blog. That's where you'll find all the show notes posts. And you can make a comment if you got a suggestion for the show, whatever you want to do. I have been having a lot of people reach out to me, publicists wanting to have their clients on the show. And I want each and every one of you to know, and there's a lot of people that are listening to the show every week, both times a week. And I'm not trying to be any way or not feature certain people. There are just some things. I am not going to allow this podcast to be anybody else's platform other than mine. And those of the people that I like, that I trust, that I do business with, or that I work with, or that I write with, or that I know, or that I feel has some sort of value to everybody listening. So I apologize to those of you that I've been telling no to. It is nothing personal. This is my platform, and I will allow people to use and benefit from my platform that I feel will benefit the greater good of the overall audience. Where there's something to learn, something, some sort of educational value, something that you can get out of it. So I'm sorry to those of you that I have said no to. Some of you have sent some very nasty emails back when I've said no. That's okay. Doesn't bother me. But I say all that to say I want you guys to be able to use that show notes section to let me know what you think. If you do have somebody you would like to have on the podcast, let me know. Go to the show notes section, leave a comment. But anyway, I am really excited about today's episode. James and I have been friends for a few years. I think personally that James is and I say it in the episode, I think that James is one of the best vocalists that Nashville has ever seen. He's a singer. And there are people that sing, there are people that can sing, and then there are singers. And James Otto is a singer. He's a hell of a nice guy. We're going to talk about some things you may not have known about James. We're going to talk about writing in color with and for Jamie Johnson. That was the ACM Song of the Year in 2008. Got him a Grammy nomination. He's written hits for Chris Janson. He's also written hits for the Zac Brown Band. Not to mention, he's written hits for himself. So I am very pleased to welcome my buddy, James Otto, to the Steve Freeman Podcast. James, thanks for being here, brother.
Glad to be here, my friend.
I want to get into a lot of stuff. First thing I want to talk about is the virus thing. How are you and the family doing? And as a performer, how is this affecting you? How are you evolving? What are you are you anxious to get back out on the road? What's happening there?
Man, I'd love to get back on the road when it's safe to do so. When bringing people into a large area together, a large amount of people in a small area together, isn't bad news for people. That's the biggest thing. Obviously, I want to go back to work. I want to go out and play music again, and I want to be able to make a living at my craft again. But also, I don't want to endanger myself or anybody else in the crowd. So, touring is one of those things. It's probably going to be one of the last things to come back. So it's a weird time.
Yeah, I agree. I was somebody the other day everybody keeps referring to this as the new normal. And I'm like, no, there is nothing about this that's fucking normal. And I don't want this to become a normal. So are you guys
with you, brother? I don't want it to be normal either.
Yeah, no. Are you guys holding up there at the house and are you having, got to ask, because I'm asking everybody, are you guys going to the stores, grocery stores, all that, or are you having it brought in? Well,
we've been having groceries brought in for a long time. It's one of those modern luxuries that I'm willing to pay for. I'm willing to pay a little extra for my groceries to have them brought to the house because I have only a certain amount of time in a day to create. My wife is usually, keeping busy with our child. And so that's one of those luxuries I've been willing to pay for. We don't get a lot of them. We still have to clean our own house. We have to do most of the normal things, but having a grocery app on your phone has been wonderful. And that's saved the day for sure. But no, we have basically not left our house for almost 60 days, which is crazy.
No, it is nuts. We've been doing the same thing. I mean, when it started, it's like, and they started offering that service, it's like, okay, wow. I was telling my wife last night, do you realize you've not been in a grocery store in 2 months? We haven't been in any store in 2 months. It's
no
really crazy.
At all.
I mean, would you have ever
think that would be good?
Well, yeah.
I would love to keep my wife out of the stores if I possibly could, but it's online now. So it's a click away and it just shows up at the house.
I know, it's so much easier. It's like, I think this has been an awesome opportunity for people who do love to shop because it's like, I'll walk by, my wife's on her laptop or iPad or something. It's like, why are you on the grocery store thing again? We just had groceries delivered today. And it's like, I don't know. We're going to get in trouble. We need to get off of that path very quickly. We're going to get in trouble. But yeah, this has been an interesting thing. And I know you are starting your own live stream show. Tell us a little bit about that, when people can catch it and where they can watch it.
It's the Otto Show is what I'm calling it. And it's basically just me live on Wednesday nights at 7:30 Central. This week, I'm doing one. I'm going to try something different, basically, where I have a buddy of mine, a songwriter friend of mine or artist friend of mine that wants to get on to my Facebook. They start like before I do or even after I do, whatever it is, we work out. This week, I've got a guy named Chris Gelbuta, who's an amazing singer-songwriter, one of my favorite artists out there right now. He's got a killer voice. He's a great musician. He's a good buddy of mine. And he's going to start the show off tonight at 6:30 p.m. He's going to play an hour-long set, and then I'm going to come on at 7:30, play an hour-long set. And it's basically a way to, keep playing shows, keep things happening while we're trying to figure out what comes next and what the next moves are. And watching your show is, really helped fuel that creativity and the desire to want to keep a signal out there, make sure that everybody knows that you're still making music, that you still have something to offer. And that's what I'm doing, man.
Have you found, since you started doing it and doing the live streams, have you seen the engagement from your fans and from the audience that they really appreciate and probably are having a chance to engage with you on a level that normally they wouldn't ever do unless they have a backstage pass or, they're at a show and you're out front signing autographs or talking to fans? I mean, because this is really what they crave. I mean, this is what they want. They want as close to you as they can possibly get, to feel the thing. Are you noticing a higher engagement rate through doing your show?
I'm noticing a higher engagement rate with my fans. And I love that part. I think what's good on this end for me is it lets me play new things. It lets me, get their opinions on stuff before I ever cut it. It lets me, really start to see what people react to, and having that opportunity to have that relationship with your fans where they'll come back and see you week after week and have thoughts on what you did the week before. It's constructive, man. It's really helpful. And I find it to be, I think it's going to be a lot of our future for entertainment. And I don't want to miss out. I think it's a smart play to get it out front of it.
Well, it's one of the things that I think it's brought to the forefront that I've noticed that I think is interesting, because I've been preaching this forever, and we'll get into this as well. But the bad thing about record labels, about whether it's independent labels, whether it's major labels or whatever, they still to this day believe largely in this buffer system, where the way to get an artist to a success level is to create a buffer between them and the fans, to where they control the access, they control everything. And I think that's why you're seeing independent artists do so well over the last 60 to 90 days, is because that buffer is gone. There's nobody going, exactly, no, you stay off over here, stay 6 feet away, 10 feet away. Unless you have a pass, you're not going to get to talk or engage with whatsoever. And now that barrier is gone. And artists that are really embracing this are getting the most valuable information they can ever have, and that is research. Instantaneously, in the second, the fans will tell you what they want and what they don't want. Do you find that it's helping you decide what you're going to do when this is all over, based on what they're telling you?
Absolutely. I've been working on a new record for the last couple of years, and when in the old model, basically you can rely on what you see the reaction from at your shows. You go, oh, that song seemed to work pretty well. It seemed to do the thing. But this way, it's real time. People will tell you which songs they liked, and they may not tell you which songs they didn't like, but you can tell by the reaction of which ones hit the mark and which ones didn't. And so that's going to help me pick songs for this new album. And it'll also, building an audience for this helps me to have a place to promote that at the end of the day too. They've been listening to those songs. They've been getting accustomed to them. They want to hear the new versions of it, the studio versions of it. They want what you're making. They want to know what you're up to. And I think given that insight into the creative mind and the creative process, I don't know. I don't want to say it democratizes it, because I'm making the music I want to make, period. And I won't play any songs online that I wouldn't play anywhere else. But it gives you a window into what really works and what doesn't.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, speaking of that, let's go back to the beginning because a lot of people first became familiar with James Otto with Just Got Started Loving You. But the story doesn't start there. I want to go back to the beginning. Talk to me about coming to Nashville, getting that first deal with Mercury, because I got to say, the first single that you put out was called The Ball, and I believe you wrote that with Jason Matthews.
Yeah, did. Eric Kurt Phillips.
That's right. That song, to me, is one of the best story country songs of all time. And I don't know that a lot of people may be familiar with it now, but take me back, walk me through coming to Nashville, signing with Mercury. What was that like?
It was a dream come true, moving from Washington State to Nashville. I moved in the summer of '97. I left Washington State on my birthday, and got to Nashville August 4th. I remember it very clearly. And, life, it was interesting for a couple of years. I got a job and started hitting the songwriters clubs, but getting the deal at Mercury, it took a couple of years for me to kind of, figure things out. I got my first publishing deal first. And from there, I made a record, or at least half of a record, with a guy named Scott Parker, who's out of the Pacific Northwest, living in Nashville. He's still a Nashville guy to this day. He's in the publishing world. But we made a record together that I really loved. And we put on a showcase and played the Exit In. and got Luke Lewis to show up because he really loved the record that we made, and got signed that night. It was, getting a chance, to get your record deal and to get heard and to do all those things was one of the most exciting moments of my life, for sure.
Yeah, I remember, I think I first became aware of you when the whole Music Mafia thing started really happening. And because it was a slow steam in Nashville going around, everybody talking about the Music Mafia and what exactly it is. And it's this crazy thing. You've never seen anything like it. And, you've got the painter up there painting on stage. You've got Cowboy Troy. You've got Big and Rich.
Yeah.
And I remember going and seeing it in the early days. And it was like a traveling variety circus, which is exactly what they wanted people to think it was.
Right.
If you didn't like this, hold on, wait 20 minutes and we're going to have something else. But I'll never forget. I remember when it was your turn and I was like, holy shit. I mean, Nashville has not seen, because look, let's face it. Nashville is not known. I don't give a damn what fucking people say. Nashville is not known for great voices. There have been some distinctive voices and some voices that have been really good, but they've all been kind of in one style. Now, all of a sudden, there's this guy up there larger than life that's got a great voice. And it's like, I would listen to this guy sing The Phone Book. And I'm not trying to diss any other country artist, but you are a vocalist. There is a difference between somebody who sings for a living and a singer. You're a singer. Yeah. And you got up there and I thought, man, I don't know if Nashville's going to buy into this, because we were so not there at the time. We were still hat act, and if you weren't wearing a hat, then you weren't even considered. And it really blew me away. Talk to me a little bit about the Music Mafia, how you became a part of that and how that movement kind of led you into everybody involved getting signed at Warner Brothers. It was kind of a package deal, which was new to Nashville as well.
Yeah. Well, the way I got involved was, I was friends with that crew. John Rich was a buddy of mine. He came, and I think the first time we met was at the Broken Spoke. He talked to me there, and then, would see each other on the town. He invited me, to this, that, or the other thing that he was doing. And eventually, we started doing this thing on Tuesday nights called the Music Mafia, and it was done at a place called the Pub of Love. Was the first shows we ever did up in this little tiny room, and it was really just a group of friends wanting to do something different. There was a lot of creative energy there. John was a successful songwriter at the time. Hadn't blown up the world yet like he was about to, but was like on the cusp of that. And there was just a really great energy between him and Kenny and John Nicholson and Corey Gearman and the handful of us that were all there at the very beginning. It was only a couple of us. And then it grew into this other thing. It transformed into something powerful, and it felt like a grassroots movement. It was artists being able to be in control of their destiny, and we knew that we were more powerful together than we were separately. It was a collection of people that really made the Music Mafia what it is, or what it was, and I was excited to be a part of it. You could feel the excitement at the shows. You could tell that things were different than just a regular songwriters night. It had a different energy. It had a different vibe. The people that started showing up to those things, and it was on a Tuesday night, and it didn't start till like 9 p.m. and went late into the night. So the people that were there wanted to be there. They wanted to be out doing something different. And man, we had all kinds of big stars starting to show up just to watch the show, not to get on stage, but to be there and see it. And, I think I'm not sure that I really understood what was happening at the moment, but looking back on all of it, it was kind of incredible how it all took off.
Did you find, was that something with everybody going over to Warner Brothers? Was that because Paul Worley got it and understood it? And
yeah, that's certainly part of it, for sure. It's a big part of it.
Because I don't know that that could have ever happened anywhere else with anyone else.
Probably not. You know, there were some opportunities. I know John Grady over at Sony wanted to do the same thing, and you know, we had the opportunity to sign other places. You know, Gretchen was over there. Gretchen was at Sony, and she did that thing over there and had great success. And he wanted to pull me over to Sony, and I had a relationship with Paul, and I ended up signing with Paul because of that. Paul was a part of my original record deal at Mercury.
Okay.
And so when I went over to Warner, it was, you know, him and John calling me up and going, hey, you know, I know that you're about to leave Mercury. We don't want your feet to hit the ground. We want you to come over here and be a part of Warner Brothers. And Music Mafia is basically going to have its own record label imprint, which was Raybar Records. And, you know, we want you to be a priority over here. And that's what I wanted to hear. You know, being at Mercury was a great experience, and it was a cool couple of years. But I never felt like the priority there. And I got priority treatment while Paul was in power at Warner Brothers. And that's the whole thing, is that I guess that's the story of the music business or the movie business or anything else. While your person is in power and they're fighting for you, then you know, things happen. And when your person isn't in power, and things just change, it just becomes a different deal. And I went through 3 different heads of the record label while I was at Warner Brothers Records, and was amazed that I made it through all 3. It was, you know, it was a cool time. It could be very frustrating at times, but to have that level of success that you always dreamed of with a song like Just Got Started Loving You was awesome. It was a wild ride for sure.
Was that something that when that, because it was very clear, I know, you know, a lot of people from the outside don't understand how the business works on the inside. But from those of us that were on the inside here in Nashville, it was very clear and apparent that James Otto was a priority for Warner Brothers. And I mean, even that year at CRS, I mean, it was very clear that this is the agenda. This is what we're pushing. Tell me a little bit about how that feels when you guys put out Just Got Started Loving You. I mean, you knew it was a hit. I mean, I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, totally different.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that. I'm not sure that we did know it was hit. I think we all felt like it could be, but it had been in the can for a couple of years. While I was at Warner, you know, we cut a bunch of different music, and that song sat in the can for about 2 years while we cut other stuff. And they were like, you know, well, is this going to be the single, or is this other thing over here going to be the deal? And man, I didn't know if it was going to be a hit. I liked the song. It felt like it could be a hit. It felt like me. It had a soulful edge, but also felt like country radio. And that's the line that I'm always trying to walk, is trying to figure out, how do I stay who I am and have my unique characteristics as a vocalist and as a writer, and also, you know, find a hit and try to be that guy, because like you said earlier, it's not what's on the radio most of the time. It's hard to get Chris Stapleton on the radio, and he's had huge success now as an artist, but he sounds so different than all of the other people out there, which I think is his best quality, is he is different. What should make you a great artist is your unique take on music. It should be that. It should be your vocals, your writing style, all of those things. And Just Got Started Loving You was the right balance of those things. But I'm not sure. I feel like we were still trying to figure out what the balance was when we cut that record. That whole album, there's I don't know. It feels almost like a shotgun blast. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's so spread out. The styles are so spread out and so wide and varying, and I love that, because that's definitely who I am as an artist. I can get behind all kinds of music. I love classic country music. I love soul music. I love rock music, and all of those things are in my songs and in my productions. But it's funny that, you know, like you could say that everybody knew it was a hit then. I didn't. I hoped it was, and I you know, am thankful for it, but I wish that I'd have known. Hell, we probably would have had more stuff like that afterwards, follow it up.
Well, you know, to me, I remember when I heard it, it was, number one, I'll go back to what I said earlier. I don't know that up to that point that even if they had, it had been a very long time since people heard a voice like yours on the radio.
Yeah, well, thanks, man.
You know, the style is, I think, and that's what it was. It was a completely different style that we were kind of ushering in. We were coming out of what, you know, I tell people all the time, country music, like anything, is cyclical. And we were kind of coming out of one cycle, and you kind of kicked off this, it's almost, it's country R&B, you know, to me.
Yeah. I always called it country soul.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what it is. Is there any one song during that period that you wish the record label would have gotten around a little bit more, or that you're just like, man, I really feel like I missed an opportunity with that? Because I have one, and I'm interested to see if you have one.
Oh, man, off that record, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there was something like Damn Right was one of those songs.
That's what I was going to say.
It always was one of my favorite songs. I loved playing it live. It always went over amazingly well. We got a standing ovation at New Faces at CRS for that song. And then, you know, I don't know if for whatever reason, it never came around as a single. And I always felt like it should be. I always felt like it should have been one of our calling cards. It was a signature song for me live. The vocal was different than anything else. You know, I was doing kind of what Stapleton does before Stapleton's records ever came out. You know, it was in that vibe, you know, in that vein, and that's where I really wanted to be musically. That was the closest thing that we had on those albums to being where I really wanted to be. But it was, you know, timing, man, who knows? And like I said, it was a matter of leadership at the time. We went through 3 different heads of the record label, and everybody has their different ideas about what you should be doing and trying to convince folks about, you know, what the right move is. Hell, I was just a young artist trying to figure it out. It's hard to, you know, have the power to do everything that you want to do. You kind of, decisions are made by a group of people versus just the handful of people that are on the inside and think they've got a handle on what you are.
Yeah, I totally agree. And they are wrong 99.9% of the time. I mean,
often, yes.
You know, I said a couple episodes ago that, you know, if major labels and A&R staff and heads of major labels were hired or fired, or their living was like a batting average, they would bat sub 100 because they strike out 1,000 times for every time they get a base hit. Talk to me a little bit about the Warner Brothers deal. How did the Warner Brothers deal come to an end? How did that affect you? And did you, being such a great songwriter outside of writing for yourself and writing for other people, was that an easy transition for you to go, you know what, I'm going to move out of this one area. I'm going to continue my artistry, continue doing what I do because I have a fan base that I can go to and that I can keep feeding. But I'm also going to transition into the songwriter part of James Otto. And you go out, I mean, you've written hits for Zach Brown Band and other people. Tell me about that transition of your artist deal ending, moving more into songwriting, and then being an independent artist after having, you know, all of those resources at your disposal.
I think I'm not sure at what point I decided that's you know what I really want to do. I've always been a songwriter. I mean, that's how I've made my living in Nashville for since after my first job. When I got to town, I got my publishing deal, and I've been writing songs for other artists since. I've had over 30 cuts on major label acts over the years, and I think it was just a natural move. It was, what options do I have to me? You know, social media was taking off, but it wasn't what it is today. So it was, I want to keep doing what I love for a living. I'm going to keep playing shows. I'm going to keep doing my thing, but how do I keep, you know, moving forward? How do I, build my career still? And to me, songwriting was that outlet. It was what I naturally do anyways. I write 3 to 5 days a week. And I'm in here in my studio producing demos on a daily basis. And it was, this is what I'm good at. This is what got me to the dance in the first place, was writing songs. So I'm going to keep doing that. And hopefully, and if I do it right, it's going to pay off and it's going to turn into something. And luckily, it's always been there for me. It's always been a great outlet. I've been able to get in rooms and write with people like Randy Houser or Zach Brown or Chris Jansen and come up with something that they want to say at the end of the day and put on their records. And man, that's such a blessing. It's been such a great thing, and I'm thankful for it. And I just can't imagine doing it a different way, honestly. Songwriting isn't something that I do because of for career gain necessarily. It's what I do. It's because who I am. It is just who I am. I mean, I'm a writer.
Let me ask you this: if you've ever thought of it this way, being an artist that's had a number one as an artist, and being a songwriter who's had number ones as a songwriter, which one do you find that you take more pride in?
That's a good question. There's both, man. I mean, for sure. In Color is one of those moments that, as a songwriter, it has given me so much. I mean, it's given me a lot of credibility that I don't know that I would have otherwise had. It's given, which gets a lot of doors open for you. When you can say, hey, I've written a song of the year. I'm a Grammy-nominated songwriter because of this. It helps open doors. It helps. It helps you also with your own self-confidence, going, you know what, I can do this. On my best days when things really go right, you could come up with something like this. So it keeps you pushing forward. And so also, having success as an artist is another one of those things. It goes, they both kind of feed each other. Mm-hmm. And since it's the only real life that I've lived in the music business, I just kind of consider them the two halves of who I am. So it's hard to know which one I take more pride in. I think it's more, they're part and parcel of me and what I'm trying to do and how I move into the future. Gotcha.
When everything all is said and done and you ride off into the sunset, do you know, is there one thing that you can look back over your career and go, that's my flag and I'm planting my flag right there. And I did this and I feel like I, quote unquote, I hate the term, but made it. I accomplished. Yeah. What's that one thing that you look back on and that you think you'll look back on? And I'm asking somebody who still has 30 years left in their career. Yeah. But, if it were today, what's that one thing you look back? Is it, just got started loving you? Is it In Color? Is it No Hurry? What is that thing that you go, that James Otto looks in the mirror and goes, I feel like I accomplished my goal because of blank?
Whew. Oh man, that's tough. Usually I don't allow myself that kind of congratulatory, you made it kind of thought, because I still don't feel like I have. It's really what I say is being able to make my living exclusively in the music business is really the deal. You know what I mean? I haven't had to have a real job in a long time. Although I put in 10, 12 hours a day at least in the studio and writing songs daily. It's being able to make my living with my guitar in my hand and entertaining people and writing songs and hopefully touching folks with that work. That's what I hang my hat on, I guess. I don't know that there's one moment. Certainly, In Color was a big one. Just Got Started Loving You was a big one. Those are great highlight moments, but I don't know that I look at my life as a highlight reel. I'm kind of more looking at it like it's a long race to run, and we got a long way to go. So,
which is great for my next question. For somebody, and because I talk about this all the time, and it's amazing to me, people that send me DMs or emails and they don't understand it, they don't get it. For somebody that has accomplished so many things, that many that are in the business would go, oh, that's it for me. Writing a number one song, that would be it for me. That's the goal. Having a number one as an artist, that's the goal. And I tell people all the time that you think that until you get to the top of that mountain, and it's only then that you see the peak of the next mountain that's over there.
Right.
What for James Otto, what is that next mountain? What are you now? You've reached the top of this one. What's at the other one that you get up every day and go, is it, I want to do this again? Or is it something completely different?
Yes, certainly I want to do it again. Obviously, you want more hits. You want, I want that next cut as much as I want anything. I want that next hit. I want those things to, the work that I do daily to pay off eventually, to be heard. And that's the big payoff is what you've created is heard, seen, and accepted, and successful by, whatever measure that you do that. For me, being able to, like I said, write those songs, but there's lots of other things I want to do. This is part of one of them. I talked to you, Steve, about you, and you putting your stuff online and having this podcast and shooting all this stuff. Man, that to me is like another avenue for creativity and for to reach out and to talk to people and to connect with people. And that's something that I want to do. I want to be able to grow something like this successfully, and hopefully in doing so, giving wings to all those creations that I've been working on for the last 30 years. It gives me more opportunity to release music. It gives me more opportunity to hopefully write with other artists. It gives me a larger voice outside of the box that we all have to live in, and to take some of that power away from those gatekeepers that are so often the go-between between you and the fans.
Do you think now that you have had the opportunity that you've had to make the music that you want to make, do it on your terms, write the kind of songs that you want to write, and starting to build this one-on-one engagement and connection with your fans, knowing what you know now, do you think you would ever go back to a major label situation?
I don't think so, man. I think that, certainly they have a ton of power still. There's no question about it. They've got a stranglehold on radio. It's nearly impossible to get on the radio without their help. But I don't know that you need that anymore. I'm not sure that that's the road to success. I think there's other options. And huge national success isn't necessarily my definition of success anymore.
Amen.
I think that certainly my definition of success is being able to be financially stable for the next, till I die, and I can take care of my daughter and my wife and live the life I want to live, doing what I love. And so that doesn't include necessarily having to be the biggest star in the world. It don't have to be a multi-millionaire to find that level of success. For me, it's having artistic freedom. It's having time to live the life that I want to outside of what I do for a living. And this stuff allows me that. Just Got Started Loving You was awesome. It was a really great thing. I was also on the road for 300 days or more. I think almost 330 days out of 365 days that year. It was one of the most difficult, hard years of my life. So there's a lot of great memories in all that, and it was cool. But it also, it takes away from being able to be with my daughter and to be with my wife and to have a family. So that's part of my motivation these days, is to be able to, be able to go tour, be able to record, to be able to be an artist, but also to have that other half of my life.
Well, it is kind of interesting that all of the things coming out the other end, all of the things that all of the fame and all of that brings, it will not buy you the things that you have now. And it's kind of funny how the you start realizing as we get older, the things that really matter in life, the larger the successes, a lot of times you get hung up in all of that stuff. It rips away all of the things that you're talking about right now that you actually really do value the most.
Yeah, I kind of look at that as one of those God things. My Warner deal fell apart right after my daughter was born. I think they looked at it as, you know what, he'll probably want to kick back and spend some time with his family and gives them an opportunity to he's probably not going to work as hard as he would have. And they're probably right. They probably was a smart move on their behalf, because I don't want to be gone as much as I used to be gone. That life, as fun as it was and as cool as it was in my 20s, is not as cool now that I'm in my 40s. It's certainly not the life I want to live. I don't mind planes, trains, and automobiles to get to shows and go do those things on the weekend. But man, I want to do that 2 to 3 days a week, not 7, So being a songwriter and an artist, that balancing act is where I feel like I've found the right lane for my life to go down. You know what I mean? It's not the fast lane. It's not the slow lane. It's somewhere in the middle. And I think it's been important for me as for my mental health, for my happiness, for all those things, and then for the betterment of my wife and my daughter,
Well, let's get outside the realm of music business for a second. What are you into other than cars? I know.
Oh yeah.
But what does James Otto do for fun?
Oh, let's see here. Cars are my main hobby outside the music business. It's an all-consuming hobby. It's one of those things that I love to do. I love to race. So I do a lot of autocross racing. I've done a bunch of different car events. And I've started, working on building or helping in designing different parts for cars. I've got a set of wheels that I helped design with a company called Forge Line that they built for my Chevelle, but now they are seeing them on all kinds of high-end builds from places like the Roadster Shop. Nice. And some of the best hot rod shops in the country are using these wheels they're called the JO3C, the James Otto 3-piece concave wheel. And it was based on a Chevelle Z28 wheel. And we brought it into the modern times. And then those are the kind of things that I really love doing. I love being able to be parts of building things that I would love to have seen for my own vehicles, and seeing those go out onto other people's cars and seeing those kind of parts show up in places like that. That's exciting for me right now. So I've got a couple other things that I'm working on in that vein, in the automotive world. And so I do a lot of car related events. So you'll see me post about a lot of that stuff online. And that's what it's all about, is me going out and enjoying the car auto lifestyle, doing my thing. So that's my main hobbies. Separate from that, what I love to do is I've always been a BMX junkie my whole life. I always loved bicycle motocross. I used to race motorcycles. I used to ride bikes, and so I've got I spent a lot of time riding BMX bikes in my neighborhood with my daughter, doing that thing, and that kind of helps keep me young until I fall, and then I move like I'm 40, 50, 60 years old, because man, it hurts so much worse now.
Yeah, it does. I know. It's like I looked at that link that you shared of those bikes. I told my wife last night. I was like, I need to get on there and order one of those bikes, because it looks.
Yes, you do.
It's exactly like what we grew up with. Because I did. I did the BMX racing when I was a kid, and it's like, oh my God, there's like BMX racing bikes for adults.
For adults, absolutely, and for all size adults. As you know, I'm 6'5" and 300 pounds. So to get a bike, that was one of the reasons I quit riding in the first place. Was I outgrew my bike. I just got to that place where I was too big, couldn't do the stuff I used to do on my bike. I looked like an idiot because I was way bigger than my bike was. And now I got a bike that's actually like built for me. It's my size. I go out and ride and can still do some of those old tricks. I'm dusting off some of that stuff and out there working out and having fun doing it. I'm not a big lover of the gym because it's just boring. I don't want to be on a treadmill all day long, but I will go jump on my bike and pedal my ass off all around the neighborhood, having a blast with my kid and, burn off 1,000 calories in a couple hours. It's a blast to do.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go home today and order one of those. I should have ordered it that night, and I completely forgot, and I was thinking about it again last night, and now, are you still riding Are you still riding motorcycles at all?
I sold off my last bike. I was a big motorcycle rider for a long time, and now I still love it. It's still something that I really enjoy. But people who are in cars are on their phones constantly. Like it is embarrassing and scary as hell to be out on the roads anymore. Everybody's looking down at their phone. Everybody's doing anything else than looking at the road. And I've seen a couple of really, really nasty accidents. I saw a guy get his leg taken off and his head splattered on the ground with his wife on his motorcycle, and he died. She lived. And I saw the aftermath of all that. And I was like, you know what? I'm probably good. I'm going to stick to my hot rods. At least there's a cage around you.
That's right.
Minimum. You're good. You got some metal around you to protect you somewhat. And I just decided that I just didn't want that risk anymore in my life. I'll go do it on country roads separate from everyone else. Like if I go up to South Dakota and hanging around with my buddies up there, I'll go ride with those guys. And because there's not many cars, but, man, as a daily kind of fun, blow off some steam, I'm kind of done with that.
Well, and becoming a parent changes a lot of that too.
Oh, that was the dynamic change right there.
Yeah, I sold my Street Glide for that reason. It was like I made a stupid mistake once. Well, I'm not regretting buying the bike. I love the bike, but but it was also the thing. It was like Nashville started getting more and more and more crowded. This was about 5 or 6, 7 years ago. It was like, it's not really safe. But then I have to admit, about a week ago, I've noticed one of the things that I'm dealing with this whole pandemic and the coronavirus is I told my wife the other day, I was like, I need to feel like I'm alive because I'm starting to feel like I exist within these 4 walls and I'm not liking it. So I took and I'd never had a motorcycle like this. So I took my ass over to the Ducati delership. And I'm like, I'm going to buy a Ducati. I
love them.
And I about 95% pulled the trigger. And then the guy's like, hey, you've in order for you to do this, you've got to go ahead and get your insurance lined up. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll have to go do that and I'll come back. And then like last Saturday morning, we all got up to ride to Starbucks or something like that. And I swear to God, people were driving so freaking nuts. And it was like, I would not want to be on a motorcycle in all this now. And so I called the guys and I'm like, I've changed my mind. I'm not going to buy it. Because exactly what you just said is like, I don't know. I think it's just that wanting to feel alive, I've been feeling like a zombie.
Well, there's no better feeling than being on a bike. It's really hard to beat that feeling of wind in the hair, or I generally wear a helmet anymore. Just being on a bike makes you feel alive. It does, and I love being out there doing it. And if it weren't for people's complete and utter selfishness being on their phones, I'd still do it. But it's too dangerous anymore with the responsibilities that I have as an adult. Maybe when my kid is grown and all of those things, I feel like I've, been able to make sure that my wife isn't going to have to go out and try to figure out how to get a job and take care of herself. If I die out there, then it might be different. But I just don't feel comfortable doing it anymore. And it's because of people's lack of personal responsibility.
Oh, it is. You can drive around. It's like I play a game now. It's like I want to see how many people are on their phone when I'm going from point A to point B. Everybody. Nobody's looking at the road.
They're looking down at it as they're driving down the street, man. You can see it everywhere.
Or even worst case scenario, now they've got the thing stuck to the windshield Oh, and so it's like they're terrible. Driving and then, they're driving like this. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, we're going to die.
Yeah. No, man, I'm not interested. There's plenty of other ways I can get my kicks. Middle-aged BMX bike gang, man. Get your bike. Come over. Look, you can get hurt plenty good on a two-wheel pedal bike.
Okay. I'm all for the BMX bike game. I think we should do that. I think after our third outing, we should all go get matching tattoos. I think. I mean, yeah, dude. Yeah. Why not?
That right? BMX life, that middle-aged BMX bike gang. I'm telling you.
That could possibly be a multi-million-dollar idea right there. We should start something.
There's a lot of us out there. If you go online, man, there's a big scene of people that used to do it when they're young. They're out there doing it again. I like seeing the reemergence of it. It's kind of fun. It's been a blast to do, and it's a way to stay reasonably in shape and keep yourself busy.
Well, and it was such a huge part of my childhood's race, going out on Saturdays and racing at the BMX tracks, and there was nothing like lining up at the top of that hill, balancing on your bike and waiting on that gate to drop. There was nothing like that.
Hey, man, they still have races in Nashville all the time. I'm actually, I've got my daughter. She's about to turn 10, but I bought her a GT Performer, and she's out riding every day. I've been wanting to take her over to the track and to let her see if she'd be interested in riding it. I'm not sure my wife is as interested as I am in all that.
She's not. I can answer that question for you. She's not.
You're
not
right.
At all.
She definitely isn't.
All right. Well, I'm going to get on that site. I may need you to text me the link again.
Dude, I'll hit you up, man.
I'm going to buy the bike, and we're going to go. We're going to go ride bikes, and then we're going to go get a tattoo. And we're going to film it.
I'm not sure about the tattoo part.
Oh, come on, James.
I'm with you.
Before we get out of here, tell me a little bit about the new record. When can people expect new music?
Oh, God. Hopefully sooner than later. The coronavirus has literally put a damper on this album. I was supposed to cut the rest of the record. It was April 17th. We had a date in the studio, and all that got canceled because of coronavirus. But I think what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to just start releasing singles digitally. Exactly. I'm going to start putting them on all the streaming services. I'm going to start putting them up on iTunes, and not release necessarily as a full album right away. What I'll do is I'll just drop singles and then maybe eventually create a collection and call that an album. So we just start getting music out there. I don't want to wait any longer, and I'm sitting on so much music, man. I've got hundreds and hundreds of songs that have been written in the last 5-6 years since the last record. So now it's just a matter of picking which ones that I want to put out and getting them on streaming services. And that's the great thing about music today, is that you can get it out. You have that opportunity, and I'm going to take it.
Well, I represent everyone listening, watching, saying that we can't wait for that. We're ready for some new James Otto music. It is at James Otto everywhere. Make sure that you check out the Otto Show Wednesday nights live on Facebook. Make sure that you go follow James's artist page, because I believe that it's not living on your personal profile. It's on your artist page, correct?
It's on my artist page. Yeah. My personal profile is just for buddies. It's just for it's what it's mainly for, is a way for me to control all the other sites that I have, right. It's just opportunities. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Well, go, if you're not following him already, go look him up on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere at James Otto. When we've got new music to talk about, we'll have you back.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Absolutely. We'll get the word out about that. And I've got to go buy my bike now.
Yeah, so, dude, get on it, man.
We can do it. James, thanks for being here, brother. We will definitely have you back. And our best wishes and well wishes to you and the family.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. Had a great time.
I hope you guys enjoyed our conversation with James Otto. What an amazing guy. I love the journey that he's on right now. He's making new music. It's going to be great. Anything James does is great. The writing's going to be the best. The production's going to be the best, and the voice is going to be the best. So make sure, if you're not following James, go follow him everywhere at James Otto. Be sure to log in every Wednesday night for the Otto Show. where he's going to have special guests and be playing a lot of music, a lot of stuff that you heard him talk about it there, stuff he's writing that he's not sure if he's going to put on a new record. Play along, engage, be a part. So I want to thank James for joining me for today's episode of the Steve Freeman Podcast. Guys, don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Leave us 5 stars. Leave a written review. Who knows? It might be featured right here on the show. If there's any part of today's show that you want to learn more about, we can find links to everything talked about, leave comments, all kinds of stuff in the show notes section of my website for the podcast. Go to thestevefreeman.com or thestevefreemanpodcast.com. You can find those there. You can leave your comments if you want. I hope every single one of you has an awesome weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep washing your hands, don't get microchipped or anything like that over the weekend, and we will see you back here Monday morning. Until then, guys, keep being creative, keep pressing the boundaries, and there's nothing wrong with being independent. See you in the next episode.
The Steve Freeman Podcast. Available now on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and everywhere else you get your podcasts.